there, welcome back to the Yoga Club. In today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit of a backbend workshop where we're going to get right into some deep backbends. But before we do, we're going to try to warm up some key areas of the body that are going to help us get deep into our backbends. And we're also going to talk about some important alignment that we need to take with us that many people don't know or realize is integral to the backbend experience. So some things that particularly what we're working towards today is our wheel position. And in our wheel position, we really need to make sure that we have enough upper body strength to lift ourselves up into this back bend. So that's going to be really important. And we're going to check in with that upper body strength in a deep shoulder opener to start with. Another thing we're going to make sure that we have on board is the engagement of the muscles in our bellies, in our backs, and in our glutes. So our core is going to take on a new meaning, and we're going to really be engaging our core as we come into all of our backbends, all of our practice backbends, and then ultimately our deep backbend. So we really want to be able to squeeze the glutes, tuck the tailbone under to draw the ribs and navel in. So to start our warm-up for back bends, we're going to come into some shoulder rolls in a seated cross-legged position. But before we begin the shoulder rolls, we're going to just check in with our spine in our seated cross-legged position. We want to make sure that we're not arching the lower back and middle back and upper back to pull our shoulders back. Instead, we're going to see if we can bring the shoulders and hips into alignment, tuck the tailbone under as we draw the ribs and navel in, and that should lengthen my spine. Then I'm going to start coming into some shoulder rolls, keeping the core engaged as I squeeze the shoulders up towards the ears and roll them down the back. And then we're going to pause with the shoulders behind us, and we're going to try to widen them apart so that they're not squeezing towards the spine, but they're lifting and staying nice and wide apart. And then we're going to keep the right hand on the floor. We're going to inhale, left arm up. We're going to check back in with the core, making sure that the shoulder stays locked in the shoulder girdle, and then we'll exhale into a nice side body stretch. And this side body stretch shouldn't just be happening in the shoulders. It should move all the way to the outer edge of that left hip. Then we'll inhale to lift up and exhale as we lower the hand, inhaling into our right side, lock the shoulder in, draw the core in, exhaling. Second side. Just a couple of movements to open up the body before our deep back bend. And we want to make sure we take the alignment with us and the breath with us that we want to use in our back bends as well. We'll inhale to lift the arm and exhale to lower it down. Now we're going to bring our hands in front of us. We're going to make sure that the knees are nicely lifted, balanced on top of the feet. We take an inhale breath, draw the core in, and as we exhale, we're going to try to bring the forehead towards the floor. We're going to allow the spine to round, and we're going to be okay with the chest meeting the legs. We're trying actually to create a condensed shape of the body so that we can get a nice stretch along the spine and also in the tops of the glutes and the outer hips and glutes as well. Now I'm pushing my hands into the floor to help lengthen my spine and push my hips back behind me. And then we're going to inhale to lift up. As we exhale, we're going to roll those shoulders back, draw the core in. Then we're going to uncross our legs and to even out the stretch in the body. We take a nice inhale here and exhale, forward fold. And then we're going to inhale to lift up and exhale as we draw the shoulders back behind us and draw the core in. I'm going to bring my hands to one side, feet to the other side, and crawl over to a tabletop position. I've got a small blanket nearby. You might use a towel instead, and it's nice to bring the knees onto a surface even beyond our yoga mat. And then we're going to widen the hands apart, shoulder width distance apart. Knees are hip distance apart or more, and toes are curled under. And we're going to start to push into the hands to strengthen the upper body. We want to push the shoulders away from the spine. We want to lift the head up, tuck the chin in, and we want to draw the tailbone under so that the navel can lift up and in towards our center. Now we're going to stay really nicely engaged through the body, and we're going to feel nice strengthening in the arms as well. As we inhale, we're going to do a deep shoulder roll into a back bend. Exhale, shoulder roll forward into a compression. We want to try to engage the abdomen now on our inhale and see if we can also engage the abdomen on our exhale. Next sequence, see if you can add the glutes too. Squeezing the glutes as you draw the belly in, and then see if you can keep them engaged as you come into your back bend. One more cycle. And then we'll exhale to a neutral position here. Now we're gonna get ready to open up the front side of the hips and quads, which are often really tight areas of the body, and they can actually impede our back bends as well. I'm gonna utilize blocks underneath my hands, but some folks might just feel comfortable balancing on their fingertips, or taking 2 towels, rolling them up, and creating blocks out of towels can work too, something like that. So that will be my recommendation if you don't have blocks. So you could either roll some towels up or be on your fingertips. I'm gonna be using my blocks, and I'm actually gonna use them on the highest height because it keeps the torso nicely lifted. We're gonna step the right foot forward up in between the hands and crawl those toes forward so that we can come into a really deep lunge. And now what many folks do is they come into the lunge and they start to come into a back bend right away. But I'm gonna invite us to change our alignment awareness. So as we come into this lunge, we actually want to tuck the tailbone under and draw the ribs and navel in. And this is what's going to create a deeper stretch along the front side of that left hip and quadricep. We want to take the glutes on board too, tuck the tailbone under, draw the ribs and navel in for one more breath. And now we're going to come into a quad stretch. We're going to try to lift the left heel to the left glute, and we're going to try to reach around to grab the foot. Drawing the heel in by bending into that elbow. Draw the belly in too. Square off the hips, deep breathing. Tuck the tailbone under. Core engages, glutes engage. We draw the heel in for one more breath, and then we'll release. And then I'm going to come back into my lunge for one more moment. If you want to lift the knee off the ground, squeezing the glutes, draw the ribs and navel in. We'll lower it back down, and we'll step the right foot back. And maybe shake the tail a little bit before second side. Now we'll bring that left foot forward up in between the hands. We bring the knee forward, the hips forward too, and we resist this temptation to start to create a back bend here. Without any engagement of the muscular body, we're actually going to endanger the spine. So what we need to do instead is learn to create back bends with engaged muscles so that we can control the skeletal body. In this shape, we want to tuck the tailbone under. We engage the glutes to keep the tailbone there. We draw the ribs and navel in, and as we come into this lunge, it actually intensifies the stretching sensation along the front side of that right hip. And the quad. It might take some time before you're able to go deeper if you choose to follow the alignment cues of tucking the tailbone under, drawing the glutes up, and drawing the abdominals up and in towards the spine. Then we lift right heel to right glute. We reach back with left hand, and instead of resisting, we're going to resist this temptation to arch, and instead we're going to draw the heel into the glute as we tuck the tailbone under and keep the lunge with the engagement of the abdominals. And this is going to intensify the stretch in the quadricep and isolate it. So by engaging the muscles of the body, we create anchors so that we can ask the body to do truthfully what we're asking it to do, which is to open this quadricep. Then we'll go ahead and release. Maybe we'll tuck the toes under to lift the knee off the ground, and this is a great way for us to engage the glutes, draw the ribs and navel in, and then we'll lower down. And we're gonna go ahead and step that left foot back and shake a tail here. And from here, we're gonna be getting ready for our big wheel posture. So first, I'm gonna invite us into camel as a back bend prep. We'll do some shoulder rolls before we come into camel, and we're gonna talk about our alignment issues. So in camel, I often see folks do a couple of things. I see them unengage their core, keep their glutes disengaged, they bring their hands to their lower back, and they use that as a way to draw the shoulders back. And then what ends up happening to most folks is the tight quadricep and hips brings the hips back in space, and so we end up exploring back bends this way. I'm going to invite us to realign our awareness. So we'll also start with curling the toes under. Next, I need to make sure that right away my hips are coming forward before I even arch through the shoulders. I'm gonna create the anchor by squeezing the glutes, drawing the ribs and navel in and up so that I truly try to flatten the torso. Then I'm gonna bring my hands to my hips to pull my shoulders back. Now, keeping the chin drawn in, I'm gonna start to push my hips forward, squeezing the glutes tightly, drawing the core in tightly, and now the back bend can begin from the middle of the back and the upper back as I bend the shoulders towards the heels. If you'd like to reach corresponding hand for corresponding heel, feel welcome to. If in doing that we come out of the shape, we need to reassess. Can you bring your hips forward over the knees? And if not, we come back to this shape. And wherever you are, we'll try to be here for 2 more breaths. Now squeeze the glutes, draw the core in as you come back up to standing. We're gonna bring the knees together and we're gonna sit down onto the heels and check in with the body. Do we disengage the core and arch the lower back? That's not helping us to counter the stretch of the back bend. We need to tuck the tailbone under, draw the core in. And now we're gonna keep that awareness as we point the toes and sit the hips onto the heels. I'm gonna move my knee guard out of the way from my forehead and I'm gonna come into a child's pose. Trying to keep my hips down towards my heels as I bring my forehead towards the floor. And we're gonna inhale up to a seated position and we're gonna get ready to come over onto our glutes. So I'm gonna bring my hands to one side, hips to the same side, and I'm gonna spiral my legs forward and shake them out. And we're gonna come into a Dandasana position, staff position, where we're gonna feel the core engage to lengthen the spine. And then with that lengthened spine, we bring the hands back behind us, about a whole hand print. And now we're keeping the fingers facing the hips. I'm gonna point the toes, engage the glutes, engage the core, keep that engagement as I start to point my toes, trying to keep my soles of the feet on the floor and then pull the shoulders back towards the spine. And then we'll lower down. That's a tough one. So if you weren't able to get your feet down on the floor all the way, I don't know if my blocks were in the way of that one, but you could bring your feet in. This is an alternative one to get us ready. We bring the hands back behind us. Hey girl dog. We lift the hips off the ground, squeezing the glutes, drawing the belly in, and we can do it this way in a tabletop position. So wherever you're at, if you've done a second set, that's great. We'll go ahead and shake it out and we're gonna come into a forward fold as a counter stretch. Core engage, shoulders back behind us. Then we walk our hands forward, we try to touch our toes. Maybe we don't reach our toes, so we stay on the sides of the legs or the ankles. And now I'm gonna draw the core in and pull myself forward. 5 deep breaths here. And then we're gonna inhale to lift up and exhale. So we roll the shoulders back and I'm gonna start to walk my glutes forward, getting ready to lay onto the floor. I'm gonna bring my arms forward and lower down with core engagement. If you need to use the elbows, that's okay too. But otherwise we wanna try and engage the core, keeping the chin tucked in. We're gonna lower all the way towards the floor and bend at our knees and bring the soles of the feet down about hips distance apart. So from this position, we're pretty much there, gonna try to explore our wheel pose. And prepping for wheel, we're gonna do one more movement. We're gonna try for bridge pose. So or modified bridge pose. So we're gonna be pushing the shoulders into the floor. We're gonna take some time here to push the lower back, middle back, and upper back in towards the floor. Palms are gonna stay on the floor as we push the shoulders back. Squeezing the glutes, we're gonna practice engaging the core as we come into this back bend. So glutes are gonna engage, core is gonna engage, we lift the hips up, and we try to make this diagonal line along the front side of the body. So we've opened up those hips and quads, getting us ready for our back bend here. Pushing the hips up for one more breath, push into the head, into the floor. So the chin is moving away from the chest, and we're trying to bring the chest now in towards the chin. So if you want to roll the shoulders underneath you a little bit more, feel welcome to. One more breath, and now let's release. And then to get ready, we're gonna do a counter position. We're gonna draw the knees in towards the chest. And if you want to use your hands to squeeze your knees in, feel welcome to. And now we're gonna get ready for our wheel position. So this definitely is with the intention of someone who's explored wheel or feels able-bodied enough that they could confidently get into wheel or try wheel. So I'm going to be grabbing my knee guard, and it was in this long position, and I'm actually going to fold it so that it's going to be more of a size of a pillow for my head, and I'm going to bring it underneath my head, way down towards my shoulders, covering my whole head. Hi, Gurdog. She's a little bit in there. And we're going to get ready for bridge in this position. And this is going to be a nice head cushion, because some of us we're going to try to pause with our head on the floor, and that's what this is about. And now we're going to try to turn and prepare our arms and shoulders. So my hands are coming alongside my head, and as I place my hands down, you see that my fingers are facing not back behind me, but forward. And I'm gonna try to lift my elbows up into alignment. For some of us, they're gonna maybe feel that they can't get the hands down and the elbows up. And so that's what you need to work on first. You need to work on getting into the flexibility through your hands and your wrists and forearms to be able to make this shape. And now we're gonna bring the feet about hip distance apart, bring them nice and close in. I'm gonna lift as if I'm lifting up into bridge. So I'm pushing my spine into the floor. That's tucking my tailbone under, and it's already lifting my glutes off the floor. And we want the glutes to engage as they lift up, just like as if we're coming into bridge. And now I'm gonna add the upper body and my head. So I'll demo what my head is doing. My head is starting to push into the floor as my shoulders lift off the ground. And that's strengthening the neck as well. So I'm pushing into the floor to lift my shoulders off the ground, and my hands though, now, because I know you're gonna be losing my face here, I'm gonna bring my hands back to the floor. We're gonna add the arms into this position too. So glutes engaging and squeezing and lifting, core drawing in. Now I'm pushing into my head, lifting my shoulders off the ground, and also pushing into my arms. And I'm gonna keep pushing into my arms to get my head into the floor. And this is why I wanted that pillow there, so that you could balance your head on your pillow and start to push your hands into the floor, push your feet into the floor, and now we're really exaggerating our bridge, and this is our first stage. And then we're gonna lower back down. I'm gonna bring my head back to my pillow and unfurl my arms, and that's our first set. And you can draw your knees into your chest and roll a little bit from side to side. So you can see that that takes a lot of strength in the upper body, as well as flexibility there too. And that's what some of the stretches that we did at the start of this Backbend workshop were for, trying to get us ready. And we're gonna try for one more set, and you're gonna see if you can straighten out your arms. If you need to come out early, that's okay too. You're gonna practice daily if you can, or as often as you can. And that's what's gonna lead to the right strength in the body and the right alignment. So just wherever you're at in your practice, make sure that you take this alignment with you, where we tuck the tailbone under, we draw the glutes and core in. Now it's like I'm coming into my bridge pose. I bring my hands back behind me. I point my fingers opposite direction, big stretch through the hands and the wrists, and I'm tilting my head now in towards the floor, the crown of the head. And then from here, if you need to establish any change through the legs and feet, I'm using the push into my feet. It helped make my body lighter, and then I was able to straighten out my arms. And now you really need to squeeze the glutes and draw the ribs and navel in. Stretching out your arms as much as you can. In time, you'll straighten out the legs too. And then when you're ready to, you bend at those elbows, you bring the head towards the floor, then you can tuck the back of the head towards the floor, and lastly, lower the hips back down and draw the knees in towards your chest. And now I'm gonna, as a last practice, I'm just gonna invite us to lift the feet up towards the ceiling and push the lower belly in towards the floor so that we can realign the spine. And then you can draw your knees in towards your chest, do some rolls side to side. And then I'm gonna roll over and get ready for a nice straight-legged forward fold as the full counter stretch to the back bend. And we're gonna hold this for 10 breaths, and then hopefully you'll be getting what you need out of this practice. Hands to the feet, we take an inhale and exhale. Namaste.